Welcome to Exposure. I'm your host, Dennys Ilic. I'm a celebrity photographer working in Los Angeles. Some of the places I've travelled to for my photography are Singapore, New York, Mumbai, Australia, and the Amalfi Coast in Italy. This is Exposure. Welcome to Exposure. I'm your host, Dennys Ilic. Exposure looks behind the lens at what influences, motivates, and inspires some of the most creative people in the world. My guest today is actor Michael Trucco, who you may remember from the iconic series Battlestar Galactica. He's been in Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, and is currently in a very funny show called Disjointed, which cracks me up all the time. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank
so great
you.
to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Mike, you know, we met because of Battlestar Galactica. I wanted to work with you for so many years, and it took a long time. Like, you were one of the last actors that I photographed quite recently. I'd just love to hear a little bit about, you know, what inspired you to become an actor?
It was an early obsession with film and television as a kid. I grew up in Northern California, and I wasn't exactly surrounded by an industry of you know, film and television or acting. It just wasn't something that you even considered. But I had an opportunity to get involved in the theater at Santa Clara University, and I took a class that was called Acting for Non-Majors, and it was just an elective. But something happened in that class, and the head of the theater department, when we completed, she looked at me and she said, you know, we enjoyed having you in class. I think you should come and study with us. I did, and I just did a ton of theater. I graduated with a BA in theater, and then I made the move, man. And it was, you know, I wish I had a great discovery story. The guy that comes up and does the proverbial, like, oh my God, you know, 3-picture deal, you know, 10 weeks later. And it just wasn't that way. I just did it the really long and boring way.
Michael, you spoke about somebody specifically championing your creative energy and inspiring you to become an actor. Was that just a single occurrence, or did you have people helping you along the way?
I've always believed that the path to get to me where I am today was one that was filled with little breadcrumbs, and somebody was always dropping a breadcrumb. And when I was in high school, I was 15 years old, and it was the first time I approached the theater, and my intent was to want to work in the shadows. I wanted to run the spotlight, or be the guy who pulls the curtain, or do something, you know, behind the scenes, build the sets. And the director of the show was this gentleman named Father Joe Bravo. I went to Sarah High School in San Mateo, California. And I'll never forget it. He said, that's great, we've got you, you know, there's lots of places for you, you know, help in the theater, but I'd like you to come and read for the show.
Wow.
And he wanted me to read for the lead of the show. And I was like, oh, no, absolutely not. I don't, you know, and all the fear and everything, he goes, I just trust me on this. I want you to come and read for the show.
But do you have any interest in photography besides what you do? I mean,
you know,
obviously,
actually,
with our phones,
I do.
It's an important part of our lives. You know?
It's a huge part of our lives, and I think it's really ironic because you talk about photography, and especially, you know, for the actor, photography it goes part and parcel to what we do. And the reality is, I don't even know if you know this, but I hate still photography.
Well, that's what as the photographers for a second.
No. This being the subject of still photography. In other words, what they call gallery shoots. And you know, in our business, when we do a show, we have to promote. And I hate it, and I feel uncomfortable, and I feel awkward. And the thing that I love is the on-set photographers who float in between the shadows and ninjas, take, and they take photos of us during rehearsals or even during shooting. And they get those you know, those candid shots.
Can be a little bit agoraphobic, so I kind of like being on set and being left alone to hunt around. But it's why, you know, when you and I shot together, you know, I always pare it down to just I try to make the person that's assisting me and taking care of the grooming as a driver as well. So it is, and that way you can really sort of connect with the person, and that's so important. There's no static. Our social media question for today comes from Ali Saws, and Ali asks, what inspires you to create, and where do you get that inspiration from? Like, do you have, you know, do you have actors that you love, or do you, as an actor, I have no idea really where you get all that from.
For sure. I think what inspires me is the ability to elicit an emotional reaction from the audience, whether that's in theater, in television, film. Everything has to come together. The word, the dialogue, and the you know, the lighting, and all those things to elicit that, and the musical cue, whatever it takes to be a part of that, to get to be lucky enough to be a part of that. And I don't take sole credit for it ever. that inspires me.
Thanks so much for joining us on the show, Michael. It's been a great thrill having you here and photographing with you as well. I hope we do it again soon. Thanks for joining us in Exposure. Don't forget to stay tuned for more, and don't forget to send your questions in too, as they might be featured in one of the episodes coming up. See you all next time.